Naren, popularly known as Swami Vivekananda, was born on 12th January 1863. Right from his childhood, he was deeply spiritual. His meeting of Sant Ramakrishnan was a critical event in his life and changed the entire course of his life. When his mentor Ramakrishna died in the year 1886, Narendra became a wandering sannyasi and assumed the name Vivekananda. He toured extensively every nook and corner of the country and saw miserable and horrible poverty-ridden condition of his countrymen, and women were living in that poverty and misery condition. After this, he gave a call to youth to preach the gospel of moksha and equality among the people throughout the length and breadth of the country. In the year 1893, he gave his historic speech at the World Parliament of Religion in Chicago, explaining the Hindu view of life and tolerance and peace as the essence of all religions. Vivekananda has been held an extensively spiritualistic philosophy and scientific saint. Educational idea of Vivekananda. Concept of education according to Vivekananda. Vivekananda looked at education from the Vedanta perspective, spiritual nature of ultimate reality, essential divinity of the man. He defined education as manifestation of perfection that is already in man. This conception is linked with Vedantic view of knowledge as innate and a priori. Education, according to Vivekananda, is the best means for the development of inner man. It is also the means for making mankind arise out of his poverty and helplessness. In the Western countries, he observed that people have risen to their present social and economic awareness only through education. In India, if the people's lot is to be improved, it is education that should answer the need of present. Now, aim of education according to Vivekananda. The ultimate goal of all education effort is man-making, but a specific aim may be as follows. First, education should strive towards the character development, by which we mean development of willpower, leading to courage, stamina, and fearlessness. Second, education should help people to build up self-confidence and self-reliance based on balanced human relationship. Third, the individual should develop adaptability and be able to meet the challenge of changing society through his education and training the receives from his parents and teachers. Fourth, we should aim in education for the development of spirituality in a social setting by the people. This spirituality should lead to development of spirit of fellow feeling, sympathy and sharing, and solution of common problem aiming the people themselves. Education should lead to a feeling of brotherhood and the unity of mankind, for the power of God exists in all, from the highest and most powerful to the lowest and the weakest person. 6. Work is worship. Education should teach us to serve humanity, the hungry, the ignorant, and the suffering masses. To serve the masses is to serve God. Education should lead us to recognize this and to fulfill this end. 7th, education should lead us to acquire a spirit of renunciation, the giving up of worldly pursuit as well as a life of pride, arrogance and ease. In place of them, we will able to learn how to love knowledge, humanity, self-sacrifice, and a desire to work for others. 7. One of the important aim of education in India to aim self-sufficiency. The individual should be given practical and vocational training along with traditional religious and cultural subjects. There should be workshops and laboratories for training in craft and trades so that people may be able to support themselves. The poverty of the country would be reduced thus. A student must be given education in Western science, technology, engineering, commerce and economics. 9th, Vivekananda gave much importance to man-making education. Man-making implies not only the development of physical strength or body, but also the cultivation of heart. We want that education by which character is formed, a strength of the mind is increased, the ultimate and the intellectual is expanded, and by which one can stand on one's own feet. Curriculum according to Vivekananda. Vivekananda's curriculum within the framework of Vedantic spiritual understanding includes yoga, Vedantic scriptures, science and technology, vocational and technical education, history and English. No specific curricula was prescribed by Vivekananda, but he gave some general instruction on the type of the subject which he would like students to learn. First, children should be taught about their cultural heritage in the terms of its history, poetry, grammar, languages, lives of the great men, Vedantic studies, the Mahabharata, Ramayana, and the story of India's past should form the groundwork of pupils' studies. Second, scientific knowledge through a study of various branches of modern sciences must find a place in the curriculum of a school for every pupil. Third, Western technology and engineering should be included in the curricula of schools and colleges. They should aim at economic development of the country through the efforts of the student when they go out to work. Fourth, in scientific and technological studies, teachers should bring about a synthesis of the knowledge of the West and East. He must recognize that there is no negation, rather a support of scientific pursuits in Vedas. Fifth, in all schools, there is a great need of emphasis on Indian languages, grammar, English, commerce and psychology and must be included. The English language will keep our door open and enable us to read, examine and adapt Western know how far for our own use. Sixth, the curriculum for girls should include crockery, needlecraft, child rearing, economics and psychology. Seventh, vocational subjects should be included in the curriculum for every child. Skills, craft and some vocation along with other study should enable pupils to learn a living at the end of their studies and make them self-supporting. The school should produce self-reliant individuals who can contribute to economic well-being of the society rather than becoming a parasite who depend on others. 8. Organizational ability should be developed in school, colleges, among students. The known how of organizing commerce, trade and industries is needed in the country. Hence, these studies needed to be introduced. Now, the methods of instruction. As we discussed earlier, the curriculum of studies recommended by Vivekananda is modern and based on the need of the society. However, the methods of instruction proposed are based on the ancient Indian tradition. First, Guru-pupil relationship is to be very close. The pupil is to be learned by the example and precept rather than books and lecture alone. Second, meditation and concentration in a strictly disciplined atmosphere are prerequisite for studying any subject. The inclination to imbibe knowledge and to learn is stimulated when the pupil withdraw from all the sensory distraction. Third, pureness and celibacy are recommended in order that the student may be in the state of responsiveness to intellectual and spiritual growth. The pupil's faith in himself, reverences for the Guru and for the great teacher will create in him a love for all the learning and knowledge, and this attitude will enable him to imbibe knowledge effectively. Fifth, discussion among the teacher and pupil is the finest methods of instruction. There should be a frank and open discussion on all points of study. The teacher should invite questions and stimulate a spirit of inquiry in the pupil. There should be a dedicated search for the truth and a climate which invite discussion on the important issue. The pupil should not become a passive recipient of the knowledge, but should be able to test the truth of what he is imbibing. He should receive guidance in his direction from his teacher. Sixth, the method of humanity is acquiring knowledge, devotion to learning, and attitudes of persistence in solving problems should be inculcated in pupils. Seventh, humility should lead to self-sacrifice, kindness, and gentleness in manners towards others. Learning and intellectual development can be fostered in such an atmosphere. Seventh, travel is an ideal method of teaching. He urged pupil and teacher to go out, observe, and listen in order to learn from the world outside. He urged travel not only within India but also to other countries. He should observe how other nations function. We should keep free and open communication with other countries and should assimilate the best from them, adapting it for our own needs. At the same time, we should be able to share our knowledge and philosophy with the people of other countries. Role of teacher according to Vivekananda. Vivekananda had the most modern ideas about the function of teacher. The teacher, he said, should not think that he is making the child grow. You cannot teach a child to grow. A child teaches itself. You can take away the obstacles, but knowledge comes out of its own nature. Drawing on the analogy of growing plant, he went on to say that loosen the soil a little so that it may come out more easily. You cannot do anything else. The rest is the manifestation from within its own nature. So with education of the child, a child educates itself. The teacher can help, but the student has to draw on himself. The external teacher offers only the suggestion which arises the internal teacher to work to understand things. Vivekananda's position on the role of teacher in child's education is very close to naturalism of Rousseau. You will see how Aurobindo expresses similar view on the role of teacher. According to Vivekananda, a true teacher is one who comes down immediately to the level of student and can transfer his soul to student's soul and see through the student eyes, hear through his ear and understand through his understanding. The teacher has a great role to play in the task of educating the child. He has to understand the needs of the pupil and to guide his learning and activities accordingly. The teacher must have a great love of humanity, a selfish and self-centered person should never become a teacher. He should be a giver of himself and of his material goods in order to serve people.